Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning, and we have a very busy, very exciting show in store for you this morning. What an amazing week of guests. It's hard to believe that Monday we start out with Career Development Council. It seems like so long ago. Tuesday, Daniel Kane joined us. He's running for Elmira City Court Judge. And his opponents, you can find, they were on the weeks before. Robert Singleton, Jordan York. I know that election, if you haven't already early voted, is coming right up on Tuesday, of course. So if you want to find those, you can find them on our website. But anyway, enough. We don't have to go through all of them. But today on the program, we're going to be talking with Chris Malpass. If you're not familiar with the Malpass brothers and you like classic country, I think you should check them out, and I think you're going to enjoy our interview. Then in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking with Debbie Shannon. She's running for Steuben County Legislator in the 12th District, which encompasses Irwin. We have some guests. It's going to be a busy Monday morning as well with candidates. So let's get right to it. Oh, I almost forgot. Let's start the program off with a big Wyoming wave. We got a very nice comment from Wyoming after yesterday's broadcast, and as always, I guess what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Just saying thank you to Joe Sempolinski. Can't think of the exact word. Praising is a little much, but praising Joe Sempolinski for his outstanding job and just knowing all the facts. So we appreciate that, Wyoming wave. We've got a lot to talk about. Trump suggesting the nuclear option when it comes to the government shutdown. Yes, we are going to give you an update on the government shutdown on what would be, day 31? Oh, yeah, happy Halloween, by the way. Also, interesting, Congressman Nick Langworthy weighing in on the New York City mayoral race, and an update on Elise Stefanik. All that and more, but let's get right to it. A couple comments from viewers. First off, what is going on? Trump cabinet members are moving into military housing amid a wave of political violence. According to The Atlantic, if you have not heard this story, Stephen Miller, Marco Rubio, Kristi Noem, and others have taken over homes and until recently housed senior officers. Katie Miller, the former White House advisor, mother of 3 young children, and wife of Stephen Miller, walked out of her front door one Thursday morning last month and was confronted by a woman she did not know. When she told this story on Fox News, she described the encounter as a protest across the line. The stranger had told Miller, quote, "I'm watching you." This was the day after Charlie Kirk's assassination, so September 11th. It also wasn't anything new. For weeks before Kirk's death, activists have been protesting the Miller's presence in North Arlington, Virginia. Someone had put up wanted posters in their neighborhood with their home address, denouncing Stephen as a Nazi who had committed crimes against humanity. I don't want to go through all this, but in response to the recent spate of left-wing violence and threats, it was decided, at least for Stephen Miller, according to The Atlantic, so take it with a grain of salt, Stephen Miller, Marco Rubio, and Kristi Noem, and others have taken up homes at military bases. And you can understand why, unfortunately, with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, but also with just the vitriol and the hate that you see, perhaps even in your day-to-day life on social media. I think we all saw it after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So it doesn't surprise me that, sadly, it's gotten to that level. But that viewer continues. Also, why is Trump resuming nuclear testing? I actually have a piece on that a little bit later on. We'll get to that in just a moment. Comment from a different viewer. Where is it? There we go. Morning, Frank. Tell me what you think about the following scenario. Sanctuary cities like New York, for example, together with communists like Mamdani, for example, together with Hochul, for example. Given this picture, I think it's conducive to what has happened in Gaza. In other words, New York City, for example, is essentially setting itself up for an insurrection of some radical group takeover, such as Hamas. The difference would be that instead of a violent takeover, it'd be more peaceful, but would have the same effect and impact. In other words, once the insurgents are in place and armed and their leaders are in control, the insurgents who have essentially, would they have taken over control of New York City? I mean, I think it's I wouldn't compare him to Hamas, but I understand what you're saying with the power. With having the power, I mean, you will have a far left, avowed socialist running New York City. Hochul does not seem to want to rein him in when it comes to his spending policies. And I mean, it's early, but she's endorsed him, right? So kind of rotting from within is maybe just a way I would put it. But the viewer continues, furthermore, I think given the rise of anti-Semitism, that things like this have been planned during the Biden administration is now well underway. Well, that unfortunately goes before even the Biden administration. If you look at the rise in I mean, the biggest protests on college campuses specifically happened during the Biden administration, but there had been that strain of anti-Semitism on the far left for quite some time, and specifically on college campuses. And the person mentions the rise of anti-American sentiment right here in our own country. Yes, that is prevalent, unfortunately. But they wrap up this viewer saying, anyway, Sliwa is gaining, and I still believe he could win. Thank you very much. Comment from Mark. Oh, no, let's go to Rick first. Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Good morning, Rick. 4 more suspected drug-running Venezuelan boats blown up Monday by U.S. military. Is that legal? Well, if it isn't, no one is doing anything about it. 104 more Palestinians dead. Many were children at the hands of the evil, yes, Rick says, the evil Netanyahu. I thought he was targeting Hamas. Where is the UN? Just like everyone else. They scream war crimes but don't do anything about it. Trump is just as guilty as Netanyahu for supplying him with the weaponry. So other than criticizing Netanyahu, I don't see any criticism of Hamas. That's okay. Powell drops, just Netanyahu. Powell drops interest rates another 0.25%. It was either that or Trump was going to visit the Treasury building again. Good move, Mr. Powell. Good move. Hey, when's Trump coming back? Oh, what the heck? Stay a few more days. The problems in other countries are much more important than the problems in the great old US of A. And besides, Melania said it's okay for you to stay a few more days. What day did that come in? Oh, I get it now. Okay. Johnson calls Schumer and Jeffries irredeemable. I call Johnson howdy doody. This is my findings from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense now, the delay on this. You've had guests this week, but wanted to get this in. Thanks, Rick. Comment from Mark. Good morning, Frank, he says. And I say good morning, Mark. King Charles strips Andrew of his title. Yeah, that was over evidence of the former royal with his hands getting caught in the Epstein cookie jar. Yes, that was actually, there's pieces out today that are saying, is it too little, too late? I mean, this was a well-known connection with Epstein, with the photos and anyway. He has been a prominent person involved in Epstein in this case. And the Trump administration limits refugees entering the U.S. to 7,500. It's the lowest ever. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Mark. We appreciate it. All right. Great comments. Keep them coming in. Yesterday, and that's where I got confused at Rick's comment, that Trump is, of course, back at the White House, and he and First Lady Melania handed out chocolate to hundreds of costumed children at the White House during a Halloween celebration last night. That's when Trump returned home right after his trip, which is always remarkable, his schedule. And then the media, the far left media, tries to present it to you as if you're watching something akin to Biden, even though they lied to us for about 4 years about Biden's mental health and physical health, saying, no, he's fine. He's sharp. We've been having those stories all week. But now they flip the coin and they say, no, boy, remember how bad Biden was? And you say, well, you never told us that before. Oh, yeah, Trump's just about the same. I saw a headline, was it Daily Beast? I mean, which is far left. But Trump grips stair handle, the railing for the stairs to Air Force One. White knuckle grips it or something like that. And I watched, I thought, with the steepness of those steps, I think anybody would go down the steps in that same way. Anyway, but after getting home from his 5-day swing through Asia, he and Melania handing out candy at the White House. Listen to this. The president logged 20,027 miles in the air on the trip, the Air Force One pilot told reporters, which concluded when he arrived at the White House just 2.5 hours before the trick-or-treaters arrived. And the reason I bring this up, not the reason, it's just fun, but I thought I would show you a couple pictures to kick off the program. Here we go. Let's see how it goes. All right. That would be my favorite costume. There's that costume is the drive-through at McDonald's that Trump so famously employed during the campaign. I just thought that was a real nice one. Also, there is some young kids dressed up as Trump, Melania, and Secret Service. And then the final one, there's Carolyn Levitt and her son dressed like a jack-o'-lantern. So I thought you'd get a kick out of those pictures as the president handed out candy right after returning from that trip. It also said, what was it that he did something? Oh, this is what it was. Perhaps the most memorable Trump Halloween moment took place in 2019 when he placed a candy bar on the head of a kid in a Minion costume during his first term. Trump did it again this year with a youngster in an unidentified costume with particularly flat headgear. Okay, thank you for all that reporting. When we come back, we'll read more of your comments. I have a couple illegal immigration updates here. A quick update on the East Wing. A couple things about Charlie Kirk. Then we are going to get into the shutdown and Mamdani and the race for New York's mayor. Couple interesting stories on that. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We're going to breeze through these quickly. But in the sanctuary state of Illinois, where Governor J.B. Pritzker has attempted to impede federal immigration enforcement, an illegal alien is accused of killing a Republican elected official and his wife in Coles County. Police say the 34-year-old illegal alien, Edwin Paco Meza of Honduras, was driving a van on October 24th when he crossed the center lane and struck 71-year-old Michael Clayton and his wife, 66-year-old Gail Clayton, killing them instantly. Michael Clayton was a Republican elected official who served on the Coles County Board. And at the time, with this happening, J.B. Pritzker has been more focused on Kristi Noem and demanding the ICE take a timeout for Halloween. But I see that Kristi Noem said that would not happen. We're absolutely not willing to put a pause on any work that we will do to keep communities safe, Noem said. The fact that Governor Pritzker is asking for that is shameful, and I think unfortunate that he doesn't recognize how important the work is that we do to make sure that we are bringing criminals to justice and bringing them off the streets. Now, Pritzker wrote in a letter on Wednesday, again, just days after that I had just mentioned, just days after illegal alien accused of killing a GOP elected official and his wife. He said, Illinois families deserve to spend Halloween weekend without fear. No child should be forced to inhale tear gas or other chemical agents while trick-or-treating in their own neighborhood. He said he was respectfully requesting the pause from Friday to Sunday in and around homes, schools, hospitals, parks, houses of worship, and other community gatherings where Halloween celebrations are taking place. All right, so that's J.B. Pritzker, but Kristi Noem turning down the request. Also, we learned that ICE has arrested over 145 illegal alien truck drivers on Indiana highways. This is out of Indiana. As I mentioned, over 40 of which had been issued commercial driver's licenses. So you had 145 illegal immigrants driving semi-trucks, over 40 of which had been issued commercial driver's licenses. Noem said in the statement, far too many innocent Americans have been killed by illegal aliens driving semi-trucks and big rigs. And yet sanctuary states around the country have been issuing illegal aliens commercial driver's licenses. The Trump administration is ending the chaos. Thanks to President Trump, Operation Midway Blitz has removed over 140 illegal alien truck drivers in Indiana. The brave men and women of ICE and the Indiana State Police are working nonstop to get criminal illegal aliens out of our communities and off the road. We also learned that more than 7,200 semi-truck drivers have been taken off United States highways since Sean Duffy implemented the Department of Transportation's new English language proficiency standard in May. Now, this coming off the heels of when we learned that New York State is issuing CDL driver's licenses to commercial driver's licenses to people whose name they were fine with putting on the ID as no name given, where you have other states actually cracking down. Think of that. Duffy writing, DOT requires commercial truck drivers to speak and understand English to operate a big rig, or they will be taken out of service. This is about President Trump and his administration making America's roads safe again. According to Duffy, almost 7,250 truck drivers have been placed out of service for failing the Trump administration's English language proficiency standards that the Obama administration has gutted, making way for foreign truckers with no understanding of English to drive dangerous semi-trucks on American highways. All right. Oh, by the way, and we're going to talk about Mamdani a little bit later on, but he was on CNN's AC 360. Oh, I'm doing good. I'm rushing here. Anderson Cooper said, so what do you do if he decides to? We already saw there was an ICE action on Canal Street. They said they were targeting undocumented immigrants who were selling counterfeit bags, which on Canal Street is there's a long history of that, obviously. What do you do? Mamdani said, I think this is an example of what is unacceptable in this country. I think the first thing that you do is you close the door that Eric Adams opened to the NYPD doing civil immigration enforcement. He said that on national television. The second thing you do, but Cooper, because that's what all these hosts do now, they have to interrupt because the story's about them, not their guest, said, so you would not allow the New York Police Department to engage or to cooperate with ICE or DHS? Mamdani, saying not in civil immigration enforcement. We have sanctuary city laws where we've made very, very clear that for a set of serious crimes, there is a coordination with the federal administration. But anything beyond that, I think 172 crimes that are listed, that is something for the NYPD to focus on purely right here in New York City. If you didn't watch that raid, I guess it's acceptable to sell counterfeits because, in Anderson Cooper's words, it had been done, I guess, historically. Known for that. But Mamdani say, no, we're going to let NYPD, we need less cooperation with the feds on immigration so NYPD can focus more on crimes. Do you think that they would have focused on what apparently Anderson Cooper said was a historic area where this was done? But this is a history. I don't know if you saw, we didn't get a chance to talk about it yesterday, and I don't want to go through every nasty thing Mamdani has said throughout his political and non-political career. But he was asked by Anderson Cooper about the time that his remarks when he said when the boot of the NYPD is on your neck. Okay, so what he's saying is obviously that the police department is violent, and that when the NYPD's boot is on your neck, it's been laced by the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces. So you had not only an attack on police, but you had a veiled anti-Semitic attack on the law enforcement as well. So Cooper said, I think that for anyone to care about these issues, we have to make them hyper-local. We have to make clear that when the boot of the NYPD is on your neck, it's been laced by the IDF. We have to make, not specifically that example all the time, but just to say that for working-class people who have very little time, who have so many stresses, who are under so many pressures, there isn't that much time for symbolism. We have to make it materially connected to their life. That's what Mamdani said at the time. So Cooper says, what does that mean? That was just 2 years ago. What does that mean that the boots of the NYPD have been laced by the IDF? So this is Mamdani's spin. It was a reference to training exercises that have taken place between the NYPD and the IDF. So Cooper, again, cutting him off. So you still believe that the NYPD is basically working hand in glove with the IDF? He said, no. What I made very clear is there are those training exercises that were a concern to me. And what my focus is on is working with the NYPD to actually deliver public safety for New Yorkers across the 5 bureaus. And I made the decision to retain Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch because of her record in being able to deliver that safety, reducing crime across the 5 bureaus. It is going to get very troubling in New York. We heard Joe Sempolinski talk about it yesterday. Very troubling in New York City if Mamdani, and according to the polls, looks like he will, Mamdani becomes the next mayor. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the program. One other thing, because Israel's come up so much this morning, Israel confirmed Thursday night that 2 bodies delivered by the Hamas terrorist organization via the Red Cross were those of 2 dead Israeli hostages, Amir Cooper, 85 years old, and Shar Baruch, 25. Benjamin Netanyahu said in a statement, following the completion of the identification process by the National Center of Forensic Medicine in cooperation with Israeli police and the IDF representatives and for the families of fallen hostages, Amiram Cooper and Sahar Barak, of blessed memory, that their loved ones have been returned to Israel and that their identification has been completed. The government of Israel shares its deep sorrow of the Cooper and Sahar families and all the families of the fallen hostages. The government and the entire establishment for the missing and the captives of the State of Israel are determined, committed, and working tirelessly to return all of our fallen hostages for proper burial in this country, or in their country. The Hamas terrorist organization is required to uphold its commitment to the mediators and return the fallen hostages as part of the implementation of the agreement. We will not compromise on this and will spare no effort until we return all of the fallen hostages, every last one of them. May their memory be a blessing. All right, we got a couple of other updates, but coming up next, am I doing good? Yeah, coming up next, we're going to be talking with Chris Malpass. I think you're going to really like this. I know we got huge music fans out there, always looking for something new. Well, they have been around touring. Well, I'll put it this way. They're bona fides. They were touring and open for Merle Haggard for years. I think you're really going to like what you hear from Chris Malpass. So that's coming up after this break. Then in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking with Debbie Shannon. She is running for Steuben County Legislature in District 12, which encompasses Irwin. So tell your friends and neighbors in Irwin. Speaking of which, if I could just real quick, since we mentioned Irwin, I've had some people asking me about this, and I want to put it up on the screen if I can find it. There we go. If you are a member of Irwin, the town of Irwin is holding a new town hall project open house. Or public information session. I like that better. I wasn't looking at the screen. The new town hall proposal, November 5th, coming right up at 5:30 p.m. at the Irwin Town Hall. So that's for all of our friends in Irwin that want to learn more about this. And it's just a thought about what is being proposed, about perhaps the creation of a new town hall. So please attend on November 5th at 5:30 at the Irwin Town Hall. And again, we're going to have both candidates for Steuben County Legislature in District 12 on the program. Debbie Shannon today and the incumbent James Cool on Monday. But we got to take a short break, and then coming up next, Chris Malpass. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that virtual studio this morning, we have Chris Malpass. Thanks so much for being on the program.
Thank you, buddy. Proud to be here with you.
Well, by the way, congratulations, third season. What's that feel like?
Man, it's overwhelming. I'm really honored and just super excited. You know, I was to get the first season, I was tickled, and to be at season 3, it's really been great. We've had a great time. It's overwhelming a little bit. Yeah,
what is it like creating it from essentially from scratch in that first season?
Well, you know, we've learned a lot of things. It's television is very it's weird because you know we're performing in front of a live audience that we have there, but then you're also trying to keep in mind the people that aren't there and making them feel like they're there. So it's completely different than just doing your regular live show. But we've learned a lot, grown a lot. It's been challenging, but it's been a good challenge.
And you have such amazing guests that play with you. I mean, is that, I don't know what the word would be, intimidating almost?
It is, because we've had people, you know, like a lot of these people are our heroes. Gene Watson,
right?
Of course, Lacey J's coming, David Frizzell's coming, Mo Bandy. So yeah, it's been really cool, even though it's a little nerve-wracking because some of the guests we actually play behind as well.
Yeah.
So you know, yeah, it's been a cool experience though.
What would you say so far? Because I know you've got new tapings coming up where people can actually attend, right? They can buy tickets.
They can, yes, sir. You can buy for one day, or you can buy a pass that gets you to all 3 days of taping.
Oh, so you do this all in 3 days?
Yes, sir. 2 shows a day, yes, sir.
Wow. And so, like you said, you're back up and they're playing with them, so that's a lot of practice, I'm assuming.
It is. And a lot of times the artist sends their material, but we don't get to practice with them till like 20 minutes before we start filming or whatever. So
you guys have like the Price is Right schedule. Like
if it kind of doesn't look like we know what we're doing, it's because we don't.
Could you not? But that's going to make it exciting because it becomes almost a part. You're watching the show, but it's a live show to the people even at home. Really?
It is, yeah. It's live, and it's what's going on right then. Is a lot of times we don't retake anything unless there's something really, If you look at the old shows like Porter Wagner, and Wilbur Brothers, there were mistakes and different things on it, but it was real. It was real, and I think that's missing in the world today. Just raw, real music with the mistakes, without the mistakes. It kind of makes it relatable to folks.
If people haven't caught a show, what's a typical program look like?
Well, our Tracy Pitcox is our host. Mm-hmm. He hosts the show and brings us on, and then Taylor and I will open the show. We'll do a couple songs, and then we'll bring out our guests and do an interview, a little talk interview. They'll do a song, and we'll talk a little more, another interview. Yeah. Real short, but a lot of comedy. Taylor keeps it, he's naturally crazy. So a lot of joking, a lot of fun, a lot of good, just classic country music. It's based a lot like almost like a Smothers Brothers show.
Okay.
If you ever watched
of course.
But also with a country flair, being Wilbur Brothers, Porter Wagner, Marty Stewart style.
Yeah, you have a lot of amazing shows like that, especially in the country realm, that you can look up to really kind of.
Oh yeah. Well, we grew up being huge fans of Porter and different things like that, so that definitely inspired us a lot in our show design. Yeah,
and I was thinking, because I looked at your schedule, and you have such an extensive touring schedule. I didn't think you could pack this all in, but you are packing it in somehow in 3 days. That's remarkable.
Yeah, it's I look at it. I try not to look too far ahead because I get overwhelmed sometimes. But you just kind of get in the zone and the routine of doing things, and it just somehow it all works. It comes out at the end, But we definitely tour a lot.
Yeah.
So trying to find the time was a little difficult, but we've made it work.
What would you rather do? Tape the show or tour? Like if you only had to pick one.
Boy, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
The touring I love because I love the different theaters and venues. And the different towns, but the doing the TV's easier because you get to sleep in the same bed every night, even though you're not at home.
Yeah.
Both of them have their good points, and both of them have their negative parts too, I guess.
Yeah,
that's a hard choice. Nobody's ever asked me that.
Yeah. Well, it's not good, but it's also nice that you have the option. You are doing both, and that means you're doing something right? So let's look back, because how long have you been doing this? Like, when did you know that this is what you want to do for a living?
So I started as a kid. I was probably 8 or 9 when I started dabbling in music. But by the time I was 15, we were actually touring around, North Carolina, Virginia.
Sure.
And then it grew into working with Merle Haggard for 7 years, and then going to Larry's Diner. So I've been doing it about all my life. I turned 40 tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Happy early birthday.
Thank you. So I've been doing it really since I was 12 years old.
That's wild. And I had the honor, I remember very vividly, it was back in 2010 when you opened for Merle Haggard at Grassroots Festival in Trumansburg. And you were like, it was so amazing because you guys blew everybody away to get everybody into that feeling of getting ready to see a legend like Merle Haggard.
Well, that was a challenging job because you're walking out. He was my hero.
Yeah.
And you're walking out in front of a legend like that everybody's bought tickets, and here's 2 guys with funny-looking hair from North Carolina that talk weird, and they're fixing to sing for you. But you know what? I can honestly say nobody was ever unkind to us.
Right.
And I think it's because we had Merle's graces, But yeah, it was really cool because we're actually doing music that influenced Merle.
Wow.
We're doing the Lefty and Ernest Tubb that was pre-Merle Haggard.
Yeah.
So he loved it. It was really cool to him, and it's cool to me too.
Well, it was the perfect fit, and I thought it was such a great way, especially considering, like you say, it was music that influenced Merle, that you were starting the program, getting everybody into that mood to see Merle Haggard.
Yeah, it was really cool way to do it, and of course I know that was his playing. You know, he knew kind of what he was doing. But it was really cool that you saw that and got that out of it. That makes me feel good.
Yeah, 2010. I remember it was amazing, especially because it wasn't an area that music you would normally think of as really what you'd almost think of as a hippie festival, grassroots and Trumansburg. Yeah,
I remember playing there and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. It just seemed to bring the best out of everybody, and you guys were great, and I still think about it. So what was it like getting to know Merle Haggard? Because like you said, that's your hero, you know?
Well, it's a lot of different. He almost felt like a second father to us when we were out there, because we stayed at the house a lot in Redding, California, and then we toured constantly with him. And we kind of became friends and almost family. He had my parents out to the house a lot.
Oh, how nice.
So, it was great touring with him, because to me there was Merle Haggard and then everybody else.
Sure.
I mean, Merle Haggard's tops to me.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot from him. You know, I learned how he just believed in being yourself and doing what you want to do, and he wasn't into gimmicks. And
no. I
mean, he was the real deal. It didn't matter if you liked him or not. You know, he was gonna be Merle Haggard.
Exactly.
And I think that's the way. I think that's something we've lost in the entertainment world. We let labels and different things make us what they think we need to be. And next thing you know, we're like the modern cars. They all look just alike. That's
exactly.
the same way with stars, yeah.
Can you imagine like a Merle Haggard having to start his career on the back of like social media? It wouldn't have, you know, it doesn't seem natural.
You know what I told somebody too? We miss all those good, like used to, we had jukeboxes and stuff, and we don't have that anymore.
No.
You download it. We're not as cool. We're not cool anymore.
Not at all. No, that's been gone for a while, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah, we have made ourselves not cool.
Yeah. You can't even buy a hard copy really anymore.
No, you can't. Yeah, people, and I like that. People like to read the credits.
Yeah.
Like to get you to sign something. You don't have anything to do that with.
Oh, that's a good point. When they ask for your autograph, what do they even autograph?
Think about those great vinyls, the artwork on them.
Oh, I know. And there's not even ticket stubs anymore. I mean,
no. It's just, so I think that's part of what about the show is appealing, is the fact that, and it was to Merle too, is the fact that it's just raw and good or bad, it's just real, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's important. I know this was mentioned somewhere that you're not like a cover group, right? That's what's you've got the throwback, if you will, sound and maybe look, but you're so much more than that.
Well, we do a lot of other artists' music, you know, but a lot of it's B-sides and stuff you haven't heard, and then we write a lot of our own music too, so it's kind of sometimes we'll do something original and they'll think it's somebody else's song because it sounds old, but that's just the vein that we work in. We love that style. We kind of live and breathe it, so it just comes out that way.
Yeah, and I've also got to ask, and we're going to get back to the show just in a moment, but since I have a second of your time, what's it like playing the Grand Ole Opry, considering your background and your kind of respect and reverence for country?
Well, to us, that's ground zero. That's where if we could be, you know, every artist says this, but if I could be a member of the Opry, I've made it in my eyes, because that's, to me, that's truly what it's all about. Anything else is cool, awards, whatever people get, all that's cool. But to me, the Opry is, every time I play there, I'm completely honored and I'm scared to death.
I've never had a single person. I've been honored to interview so many people, Charlie Pride, so many people, and they always say that they were nervous at every show, the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah, you are, and I think it's because as a country artist, you know, the Opry is, that's it.
That's it.
Know? So I think if you go out there and you're not nervous, you might better rethink what you're doing.
Right, maybe it's not the business for you. Now, going back full circle, the third season, it begins its taping with RFD. What's it like working with RFD? Having watched some of their programs, it seems like one big happy family.
It is. You know, everybody working with RFD has been so good to us because they really do cater to the kind of people that are country, you know, the traditional country fans, they watch RFD. That's just their.
Oh, absolutely. Religiously.
And all the Patrick who ran RFD, who's now passed, I mean, he was, he came to us, and it wasn't a let's sit down and meet with a group of people and do a contract. It was I like what y'all do. The fans our fans will get it, handshake deal, and that was it.
Yeah.
it was the same way with Merle. When we went to work with Merle 7 years and did a recording, we never had a contract. So
That's right.
It's old school way of business, old school way of running things. But hey,
Yeah.
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. How much in your life do you think you've had Springer Mountain chicken?
Oh gosh, about every meal.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Gus is watching
Every
meal.
single meal. Hey, we got it. We got it. No, I know. I mean, that's what I mean. It's just so much fun to watch the programming because everybody seems like family, friends. Larry's Country Diner was such a blast. You watch the old Family Country reunions.
I love them so much. Larry Black. We owe so much to him.
Yeah. It's so great that you can. Yeah, and you can really carry on the tradition. I feel like that's what your show is doing.
Well, that's what we're trying to do is keep it alive. Because there's a lot of young people that haven't heard this music, so we're wanting to introduce them to it.
And I think you are. And just before we go, so you have so many legends playing this year and in the past years. You've played with so many legends, too. Is there somebody you wish you could still play with? Like that you haven't had an opportunity?
Charlie Pride would have been one.
That would have been, yeah, we lost him.
He was the first concert I ever saw.
Really? He was such a nice, when I interviewed him just a few years before his passing, such a nice, genuine guy.
He was genuine, and man, he was one of country music's greatest singers.
I couldn't agree more.
He had a voice of gold, buddy.
I know.
I mean, and it there's a lot of people that owe a lot to people like Charlie Pride for influence. I mean, he was great, and just he's truly his story needs to be a movie.
I know. I'm surprised it isn't, as a matter of fact.
I know. Well, most of the time they wind up making a movie about something stupid. They need to make one about Charlie.
I know. That's when we'd all go to. I know. They always focus on the wrong things, doesn't it? It seems like that you need to have a very nefarious background. You have to have something that went really wrong to get a movie.
You do, yeah, for them to catch on. And Charlie Pride's truly the American dream.
Really? He really is. I think that's a good pick. I don't even have to go any further. So where can people find out more about the third season?
Well, you can go to our website, themalpassbrothers.com, or, of course, follow us on Facebook, all our social platforms. We post on there, and you can find the information all on there. If you want to buy tickets to come out or whatever, we would love to have you. You can buy a one-day pass, or you can buy a pass to get you in all three.
Well, you got to come out our way, upstate New York. Come up soon.
I want to do it. I've been up there before, and it's beautiful. We hope we can come back.
All right. Well, great. Well, Chris, thanks for giving us so much time this morning.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate your kind words.
Best of luck. All right. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street Corning. Thank you to Chris Malpass for being on the program. If you are a fan of classic country, I think you're really, really going to enjoy their music if you're not already aware of them. We are running a little bit late. We've got to get to a couple of quick updates, and we're going to talk about the shutdown and Mamdani. Some interesting stories coming from Mamdani and New York in general. But since I'm running late, let's use this section to read viewer comments, shall we? Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Steve. When the revival has taken full control again, separation will become less predominant. Elites will always find how to separate people. That has been the plan for over 50 years now. When the family was in place, that was the biggest threat. Division is what has been implemented. Division in every way possible to create separation. Again, when the revival has taken full control again, separation will become less predominant. Elites will always find how to separate people. One-income family households have almost become non-existent. Just an opinion. Thank you, Steve. Comment from a different viewer. I'm loving everything Trump is doing. All the Democrat losers are crying about illegals, exploding drug traffickers, food stamps, trade deals, and ballrooms. We've got something on a ballroom here in just a moment. Jack writes in, went out about 6 a.m. in the dark and gusting winds to put the extension ladder up and turn my antenna that the wind moved. I just couldn't bear to miss an episode of Frankly Speaking. Well, thank you very much. Be careful. An extension ladder and gusty winds is a recipe for disaster, but we appreciate your dedication here on Frankly Speaking. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I haven't seen every minute of your show this week. I won't hold that against you. And don't know if you've mentioned that the Friends of the Library are having their book sale. I did. I'm glad you gave me an excuse, though, to mention it again. Sorry, I haven't updated the dates on that. A little out of date, but it's still ongoing. It's at the Union Hall by the Corning Library. After voting early, we stopped in. Oh, great idea. Stop over the library, vote early, and then head to the Union Hall, do a little shopping. There were 3 Michelle Obama and 3 Barack Obama books, all in unread condition. They'd make great Christmas gifts. If you hid paper currency between the pages, it would be like a home security safe. Nobody would ever open those books. Sorry, but I bought the only Rush Revere book they had. Oh, wow, I can't believe they had a Rush Revere book. I can't believe someone gave that up. So congratulations on your big find. And it's always fun spending time looking through the various rows and rows of books at the Friends of the Southeast Steuben County Library. So the book sale going on today from 9 till 5, 50% off, my goodness. And then tomorrow, bag and box sale, just 9 to 2. I should note, and I'm sure it's not an issue, but if you do go over to the Union Hall, bring cash or a check, okay? And finally, I checked out a song by the Malpass brothers on YouTube. They have a lot of them. I liked it. Plus, Chris seems like a pretty good guy. He's very nice. We chatted a little bit off the air. Very nice guy. They have a lot of music. They have been playing for quite a long time. And I think it's really amazing because, as he mentioned, even when they play classic country, something that's not originally their own, it's normally a deep cut that people think is theirs. And they just have a great sense of humor. If you've ever seen them on any of the other programs or their program, you'll see that it's just kind of like a variety show anytime they get together. All right, we got to take a short break. When we come back, thank you for all the comments. Thank you for all the waves. We'll keep right along because we have a lot to get to, and we have another interview coming up. This has been a busy week. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from a viewer, and this is a kind of I don't know if you'd say a meme, I don't know what you'd call it, but underneath a photo. My fellow Americans, it's okay to admit that the Democratic Party has left you and left you out in the middle, while the Republican Party has moved to more center for the working class. It's okay to keep your values of the working class and join the winning side. Thank you very much. I mentioned Jasmine Crockett here for a moment because someone had brought up the East Wing. So there was a back and forth on CNN's, what's the actual name? The Source. Caitlin Collins had asked a question about the government shutdown. But the Democrats are having and we talked about this with Joe Semplinsky yesterday, a very difficult time trying to control the narrative. In the past, they were able to. This time, just at face value for anybody paying attention, and that's a big hurdle to overcome. You know that the Democrats are the ones that are holding up opening the government. So the people, and we had that great piece yesterday, the people that are suffering without SNAP benefits, it's because the Democrats are holding up, agreeing to a clean continuing resolution. Well, we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But she was asked about that, and she didn't want that to be her message. So she changed the topic and said the president has time to do everything but what he needs to focus on. In fact, we heard the press secretary say his main priority is the ballroom that no one asked for, the ballroom that requires him to destroy historic pieces of the White House. Well, Democrats aren't used to being fact-checked in real time, but Collins actually interrupted, saying, yeah, in the context of the comment from Carolyn Leavitt, she was asked if the president was working on any other renovations when it came to the White House, and she was saying his focus was on the ballroom. So calling out Jasmine Crockett for misleading information, kind of rare. I'm sure she was not expecting that. She is a media darling right now. So that's, yes, was it light compared to what you would see if you're watching the Sunday shows and J.D. Vance or Speaker Johnson around? Sure. Now, that was it was something. It was something to least worth. That's how bad the media has become that I felt that was worth mentioning, that she was fact checked in real time. Hey, by the way, we got a couple of Charlie Kirk things here quickly. Rhode Island Public School. A mother who doesn't have a student there, but in the district she does, but sends her kids to a private school. She asked about a teacher who had went on TikTok and called Charlie Kirk a piece of garbage. So she said, hey, I want a Freedom of Information Act request. I want all his emails and anything he said about Trump or Charlie Kirk in his official email at Barrington High School. The teacher's name, Benjamin Philo, a social studies teacher, who said horrible things about Charlie Kirk, because she wants to know, is this being taught to the students at that school. So what did the school district do? They put together a bill of what that Freedom of Information Act request would cost Miss Solis, because when they looked in their system, that teacher had sent 789 emails with the word Trump in it since September of 2024. And because she asked for the curriculum, get this, her bill, if she wants them to fork it over, $117,130.50, with the 15-year curriculum alone costing roughly $116,000. Why do you think they're doing that? Why do you think they're putting that kind of money on it? Why? Because they don't want what was released. They don't want released what was in those emails. All right, we got to take another short break and wrap up hour number one. We are going to get to the fact that Trump has called for essentially a end or a nuclear option when it comes to the Senate and the shutdown. We're going to talk about that in the next hour, as well as Mom Donnie. Stay with us. Getting ready to wrap up hour number one. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Hey, coming up at the top of the hour, we got a Climate Fact Friday from Bob, so we look forward to that. I'll wait until the top of the hour. But we have a comment from a different viewer. I find it ironic the Republicans have negotiated trade deals in America's interest, and Democrats negotiate deals for other countries. Bill Clinton made Canada and Mexico great. Trump is making America great again. Thank you for that comment. Turning Point USA's extraordinary crowd with J.D. Vance shows how young people are hungry for purpose. That's according to Douglas Murray. There was a time when conservative kids weren't cool. They were out of touch, at least with their own generation. But that has changed. And nothing demonstrates that change more than something that happened at the University of Mississippi on Wednesday. From early morning, the lines started to form. They grew throughout the day in spite of the rain, as thousands of people waited to get into the Turning Point USA event. According to Turning Point spokesman Andrew Colvett, more than half of the entire student body of the university packed into the venue. That's a full 14,000 students out of 27,000. Not counting the 13,000 adults. The crowd heard from Eric O'Kirk. They also watched J.D. Vance, who spent an hour on stage taking questions from the audience on a whole range of subjects. Vance's performance was an extraordinary tribute to his late friend. What was even more extraordinary was not just the event's scale, but what the scale speaks to. And basically something that I've been saying for a long time on this program, that if you want to be rock and roll, if you want to be cool, you would be a conservative at this point. Because if you look at the quote-unquote cool kids in the room, the Bruce Springsteens that just get up there and lecture you about the 1% as they charge you $300 for a general admission ticket. But I don't want to go through his whole history of how it's changed. I think you've seen that shift, and I think the success of the Trump administration and winning the election, the popularity of J.D. Vance, Charlie Kirk, and the like, it is showing a new trend, and an exciting new trend. The re-election of Donald Trump was undoubtedly a turning point, as with the swiftness with which even Silicon Valley heads got behind him on the turn of a dime, and now the lines of young people to hear from conservatives, including a Republican vice president. We shall see whether this becomes a full-on revival, but it's undeniable, a turning of the tide, and a welcome one at that. I thought, what a great way to end this hour. When we come back, the shutdown, and then Mom Donnie, an interesting, I think you're going to find it really interesting, a comment from Congressman Nick Langworthy in regards to the New York mayoral race. We'll be talking about that in the next hour as well. And we'll hear from Debbie Shannon. Thanks again to Chris Malpass of the Malpass Brothers for joining us in the 6 o'clock hour. Check them out. I think you'll really enjoy their music. Stay with us. Hour number one in the books. Hour number two, mere moments away. And welcome to hour number two of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We're going to be talking government shutdown. We're going to be talking the mayor's race in New York City, and we're going to hear from Debbie Shannon a little bit later on in this hour. Okay, let's go to some viewer comments, one of which includes Climate Fact Friday Bob. Comment from this viewer: J.D. Vance did a great job answering the questions posed at the universities. Yeah, he's very quick on his feet, isn't he? I was just shocked. And I know I've told this story a million times, but when I saw him in Williamsport, the questions he took from the press that ranged from issues he knew like the back of his hand, national issues. Someone brought up January 6th and these type of things. But just, I remember one reporter asking about dairy farmers or something like that in Williamsport, and he didn't make up some generic answer. He knew what he was talking about. There was no way to prepare for those questions from the press. It wasn't as if he got a brief on what they were going to ask. So because I was part of the media, so they didn't ask what questions you're going to ask, trust me. So I was very impressed. All right, comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. After 5 days, I'm finally able to tune in again. Oh, no. I have Dish Network, and for some reason, the recordings I set up in case I missed the show stopped recording, and then the channel changed in the lineup, apparently. Oh, no, I haven't heard any of this. I'll have to get more information for you. Who knows, but it's back today. Well, that's all that matters. I'm sorry I missed one of my favorite guests yesterday, and of course, yours truly, Dally. Well, thank you. Yes, Joe is, and that's kind of you to say about me, but yes, Joe is a fan favorite. If you missed it, it is up on our YouTube page. You can find the full interview. It was a long one yesterday. We had a nice chat. It was fun having Joe in. It'd been a little while. I got thinking it was actually a little over a month, almost a month and a half, because we had him on the day after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, so September 11th, and then we had him on yesterday, and I thought it was a great interview, as always. Okay, Climate Fact Friday, Bob writes saying, good day, all. Well, good day. So Bill Gates has been enlightened. Yeah. Even our fearless governor is slowing down her net zero program. But did you see, I don't like to interrupt Climate Fact Friday, Bob, but did you see that even with some of the changes and some of the pushing back that she's making, that Kathy Hochul is now on the Time Magazine's 100 climate leaders? I don't know if they don't put it, I printed it out. I'm not going to read what it all says. But Kathy Hochul making that list of what they call 100 climate change leaders or climate leaders. But I'll continue. Climate Fact Friday Bob says Sweden in 2019 reported 50% of young women and 30% of young men thought climate change was the biggest threat to human existence. Now it is only 15%. The whole climate hysteria has lost steam. I think my work is done, at least for a while. I think it was all because of you. That's when I first started noting the turnaround. Climate Fact Friday Bob, and I do appreciate that. Hey, if you can convince Bill Gates, you've done your work here, good sir. He continues, I need to move on to other projects and concerns. I will probably comment from time to time. It's been fun for sure. I thank each and every one for their great questions and comments directed my way. Thanks, Frank. You are a most humble and gracious host. Well, thank you. Keep up the fantastic job. To all, have a great weekend and be kind and stay safe. Well, thank you, Climate Fact Friday, Bob. Here's the only problem I see. And you're more than welcome to pick up another topic and send one in every Friday. But boy, Climate Fact Friday Bob has a nice ring to it. So it's going to be tough if you move on to a different project, what you're going to have your new nickname be. Unless you want us to keep calling you Climate Fact Friday Bob and then you have something completely unrelated, which I'm fine with as well. But thank you for the kind words, and we always appreciate you being a part of it. But I'm with you. If you can convince Bill Gates, your work here is done. President Trump called on Republicans yesterday to invoke the so-called nuclear option and change Senate rules to allow legislation to end the 30-day government shutdown to pass with a simple majority vote. Now, I'm just going to say, the problem with this is, yes, you have Democrats calling for it all the time when they're in power, and could they end up ultimately doing it? Yes. I wish they wouldn't. I wish that would not change. Having said that, I like that President Trump, again, has proven that he's the one that wants to open the government. He's the one that's saying Democrats are jamming this up. It's not me. It's not his fellow Republicans. It is the Democrats that are not letting the numbers get to 60. So I do like, from a PR standpoint, that I'm always hesitant, and I bring this up because I want to hear your thoughts on it. Hesitant of using the nuclear option, though I know you could say, well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If they're going to call for it, we could do it, and we got to play by their rules sometimes. I understand that. I understand. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. The president, I wonder if I can, he wrote such a long Truth Social late last night that when they put it in the piece at the New York Post, I think it might be a little too small for me to read. but I'm going to try. I just got back from Asia, where I met with the leaders of many countries, including China, Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Singapore, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, and others. It was a great honor to meet them, but more particularly to see that America is respected again, respected like never before. Great trade deals were made, long-term relationships now exist, and money is pouring into our country because of tariffs and, frankly, the landslide results of the 2024 presidential election. The one question that kept coming up, however, was how did the Democrats shut down the United States of America, and what did the powerful Republicans and why did the powerful Republicans allow them to do it? The fact is, in flying back, I thought a great deal about that question. Why? Majority Leader John Thune and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson are doing a great job, but the Democrats are crazed lunatics that have lost all sense of wisdom and reality. It is a sick form of the now legendary Trump derangement syndrome that only comes from losing too much. They want trillions of dollars to be taken from our healthcare system and given to others who are not deserving, people who have come into our country illegally, many from prisons and mental institutions. This will hurt American citizens, and Republicans will not let it happen. It is now time for the Republicans to play their Trump card and go for what is called the nuclear option. Get rid of the filibuster and get rid of it now. Just a short while ago, the Democrats, while in power, fought for 3 years to do this, but were unable to pull it off because of Senators Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Kristen Sinema of Arizona. Never have the Democrats fought so hard to do something because they knew the tremendous strength that terminating the filibuster would give them. They want to substantially expand, pack the United States Supreme Court, make Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico states, thereby automatically picking up 4 Senate seats, many House seats, and at least 8 electoral votes, and many other highly destructive things. Well, now we are in power, and if we did that, what we should be doing, it would immediately end this ridiculous country-destroying shutdown. If the Democrats ever came back into power, which would be made easier for them if the Republicans are not using the great strength and policies made available to us by ending the filibuster, the Democrats will exercise their rights, and it will be done in the first day they take office, regardless of whether or not we do it. In addition to all the other things we would get, such as the best judges, the best U.S. attorneys, the best of everything, this was a concept from years ago of then-President Barack Hussein Obama and former Majority Leader Harry Reid in order to take advantage of the Republicans. Now I want to do it in order to take advantage of the Democrats. Then he went on to continue in a separate post, because of the fact that the Democrats have gone stone cold crazy, the choice is clear. Initiate the nuclear option, get rid of the filibuster, and make America great again. And I understand the concept that if Democrats get in power, they will do this same thing. So what he's saying is just get a early jump on it. That's why I want to post. It raises concerns for me, but that's why I want to hear from you. I want to hear your opinion on it. So calling for the nuclear option to end the, quote, country-destroying government shutdown. Now, Delta and United Airlines are calling on Congress to reopen the government with a clean continuing resolution. They've minimized delays. Fewer than 2% of flights have been delayed so far because of air traffic control shortages. So they've done a great job, but it's putting stress on people. It's not fair to those people. It's also putting stress on the economy, said Scott Kirby, United Airlines CEO. You know, the first couple of weeks had no impact on the economy, but as every day goes by, the impacts start to grow. And airlines are a pretty good real-time indicator of the economy, and we start to still see minor but still steep booking impact. And you see that happening in the economy. We put the whole economy at risk. So calling, again, Delta and United Airlines calling for Congress to reopen. Yesterday, Congressman Nick Langworthy weighed in, and we're going to hear from him, not personally, but quotes from him later on in regards to the mayor's race that I think you're going to find really interesting. But yesterday, Congressman Nick Langworthy had this to say in regards to the Schumer shutdown, saying, Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats forced the shutdown, and they can end it today by changing their no votes and making sure 42 million Americans don't go hungry. The president cannot legally fund programs that Congress hasn't appropriated. Democrats have a choice to make: stand with needy American citizens or continue prioritizing benefits for illegal immigrants. I voted to keep the government open and a clean continuation of funding. And I hope Senate Democrats come to their senses before more Americans are hurt by their partisan games. So thank you very much to Congressman Nick Langworthy. Democrat Representative Janelle Binham claimed that she voted against the continuing resolution to keep the government open because it wasn't a clean continuing resolution. Quote, there's always been a poison pill to it. But then responded to a question on what exactly these poison pills were, right? Because no one has made that argument. So this is why I printed this. It raised my interest because no one has said it wasn't a clean continuing resolution that passed the House, because it literally was. We're going to keep funding at the same level until November 21st. So her answer, I think what you're trying to do is shift the responsibility to Democrats. Well, not shift. The responsibility is on Democrats to open the government. So to put her logic into kind of context, the GOP continuing resolution wasn't clear, but I won't say why. And you asking me is you blaming Democrats. Representative Janelle Bynum. So what was the poison pill? You say it's not clean. What's the poison pill? Here's what's important. I think that you're trying to do is shift the responsibility to Democrats. Speaker Johnson controls the House. He should come back, pull Republicans off of vacation, and make sure that we have discussions on what the country needs. We know children need to be fed. Anything else is passing the buck and is playing politics as she plays politics. Okay. So we'll not answer. I'm just saying it because she's the first one I've heard try to use that. They'll probably try to use it in the future because normally the media will not push back. Unfortunately for her, she did not realize she was on C-SPAN, where they play a little more fast and loose. Not that they're aggressive in any way, shape, or form, but they just wanted to know what she was talking to. Probably say, wow, this is breaking news. All right. Cory Booker, who had that non-filibuster filibuster that was just groundbreaking. He has a book coming out called Stand. It might already be out in regards to it. Dana Bash at CNN asked him about the shutdown. He said, well, you know, Donald Trump has said very bluntly that I'm going to cause maximum pain. And so his intention really is to use hunger as a political weapon. The hunger of our children, families, disabled. It's really striking to me, especially because we do have the constitutional authority to use the discretionary funds because it's been done before. That's what is really surprising to me, is the level of cruelty that is marking Republican leadership right now, that they could put children and families at risk during this fight. This is an America where Donald Trump continues to pass bills that give billionaires and the wealthiest corporation tax breaks and cuts and guts school lunch programs. They already cut $1 billion out of SNAP payments and cut Medicaid. And so I don't understand this level of cruelty from the Republican Party right now. All you have to do is open the government with a clean continuing resolution. Chris Van Hollen, when not enjoying martinis on the beach with prisoners in Venezuela, illegal immigrants, he had time to weigh in on the shutdown. He said, right now, Donald Trump seems to want to drive right over the cliff. As you said, he is deliberately choosing to withhold food from 42 million Americans, 16 million of them children, for political points. He wants to take these kids and 40 million American hostages as part of weaponizing the Trump shutdown. Now, are they trying to call it the Trump shutdown? I guess they have been. That just looked weird to me. Now, as you mentioned, you have a federal district court judge who says today that they may require that these food benefits be provided because if you read the law, one thing is clear. There's nothing that requires Trump to withhold this food, even though that's what they're doing. It may be that they have to actually provide the food because Congress set aside funds for this kind of emergency purpose, and they're withholding them. So we'll see what the judge says. As you mentioned there in court, I want everyone to understand the Trump administration is in court saying to a judge, don't make us feed 40 million Americans during this shutdown. That's the Trump position. And everybody must understand that this is in the intentional infliction of distress, intentional infliction of trauma. I call it pure out sadism. They're enjoying the pain that they're imposing on the American people. Ilhan Omar, who we may get to later, she is upset with Chuck Schumer not endorsing Mamdani. She was called out for Democrats' past criticisms on government shutdowns because the past shutdowns over policy. She said, this is not a policy fight, and it's a worthy fight. This is not a policy fight? This was on CNN's The Arena with Casey Hunt. She said, but isn't this the risk that Democrats took? Because oftentimes Democrats have been defending the role of the government, and Republicans in the past, Democrats have said policy is not a reason to shut down the government. A policy fight is not a reason to do it. Why is that different now? She said, quote, this is not a policy fight. This is a healthcare crisis. Well, to Hunt's credit, but that fundamentally is a fight over healthcare policy. Yeah, but we're going to see people die in this country because they're not able to provide healthcare for themselves and for their families. I think that is a worthy fight for us to be in. What I'm shocked by is the fact that Republicans have chosen to say, I don't care if you lose your health care, I've chosen to. Okay. Now, J.D. Vance, we got to take a short break. More on the shutdown when we come back. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Now, it looks like a Halloween view, doesn't it? As we come back from the Halloween, Frankly Speaking edition. Let's see. Yeah, I like that view. All right, we're back. Let's go to some viewer comments, shall we? Wondering if the Supreme Court has ruled on whether or not SNAP benefits can be withheld during a shutdown. Any information yet? None at all. I know yesterday, and it wasn't the Supreme Court, of course, yesterday a federal judge, Indira Talwani, said in a hearing that a $5.5 billion contingency fund should be used to provide SNAP benefits after states run out of aid money due to the government shutdown. And now that's supposed to begin November 1st. So tomorrow, I have not heard though. And by the way, it's 7 a.m, so we won't hear for a little bit, I'm assuming. If something changes or if anybody hears, let me know. Now, I should note that the federal judge, Indira Talwani, was nominated by Barack Obama back in 2013. Just something to keep in mind as she makes her decision. Okay. Oh, there's another comment. Hold on. Ken writes in, the government shutdown would end yesterday if Congress passes a law that makes it illegal for our lawmakers to be paid and only allow them to withdraw a total of $100 a week from any bank account or investments during a government shutdown. The Democrats aren't being hurt, and the sheeple will blame the Republicans. So the Democrats don't care who they hurt. Thank you, Ken. J.D. Vance commented on Thomas Massie always being a no vote. He said he has been completely unwilling to provide it when we need the vote. Having your own opinions is one thing. Voting against the party on every single issue, you're eventually going to make too many enemies, and that is the problem that Thomas has, said Vance. It's not one issue, it's not 3 or 4 issues, it's that every time that we needed Thomas for a vote, he has been completely unwilling to provide it. That is why Vance continued, Trump has given up on Massie and backed a primary challenge against him. It's because we can never count on him for some of the most difficult votes. I wish that this weren't the case. I say that as somebody who's known Thomas well before I got into politics, but politics is politics. And when you always vote against a party, you can't expect the party to actually back you. Oh, did you see what Charlemagne, that radio host that gets quite amazing interviews, and he does a lot of... a lot of criticism of the Democrat Party, even though I think he's pretty much avowed that he's a Democrat. Did you see what he called Hakeem Jeffries? After playing, what was this on? I guess he was on The Daily Show. After playing a clip of House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries referring to Republicans as the party of lawlessness and disorder, Charlemagne, the radio host, asked a brutal question. This is the quote. So why is Hakeem Jeffries talking like he's Chuck E. Cheese Obama? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Come on. Clearly, the Democrats don't have the leaders they need to meet the moment. Okay, fine. Anyone who was a fan of sports knows sometimes you need a rebuilding year. Okay, get some draft picks, develop young talent, and at some point, the old guys need to retire. He went on to argue that Democrats should be focused on picking exciting new candidates. Wow. Calling Hakeem Jeffries, and I quote, he's talking like he's Chuck E. Cheese Obama. Yeah, a lot of people, we talked about with Joe Semplinsky yesterday, a lot of people have not been what you would call, I don't know, what would you say, blown away by the job that Hakeem Jeffries is doing. Now, we've got a break coming up. When we come back, we're going to hear from Debbie Shannon. She's running for Steuben County Legislature in District 12, so she's coming up next. Then we're going to talk about Mamadani. Nick Langworthy, our congressman, weighing in on that race. So you won't want to go anywhere. You want to hear what he had to say. So stay with us. This is, Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Hagan. We are broadcasting from the Hasselson Studio, and returning to the Hasselson Studio, we have Debbie Shannon. Thanks so much for being on the program.
Thank you.
All right, I've got to do my disclaimer. You are running for Steuben County Legislature in District 12, which is Irwin. I am a resident of Irwin. I serve on the Irwin Town Board. I just do that as a disclaimer, so any questions I ask are fair and above board, and I ask both candidates the same questions, and the primary candidates essentially the same questions. Okay, got that out of the way. All right, so let's start having a little fun, because last time you were on wasn't that long ago, but how's the campaign been going?
Really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been knocking on a lot of doors and talking to a lot of people, and I have kind of an overwhelming sense that people are struggling.
Yeah.
More and more, I've had people tell me that their kids who are college graduates can't find a job and they're moving back with their parents.
Oh, wow.
Or I've heard of several instances where elderly parents can't afford to live by themselves anymore, so they move back in with their kids. And there were some instances where like 3 generations are under the same roof just to make ends meet.
Wow. Yeah, and I know I've heard from a lot of people on this program that have talked about just how it's really not sustainable to live sometimes with their age demographic and the money that they have, their fixed income, that it's becoming almost impossible.
Yeah.
It's a scary thing. So what do you think at the county level, what will your goals and platforms be to help those voters and constituents?
Well, I think, look, I'm a common sense candidate who
Right.
believes that there's a solution to every problem, and that I am hired to work for you. It doesn't have anything to do with personalities
Sure.
or whatever. It has to do with, okay, let's get to the table, and we're not always going to agree. That's normal. If
Yeah.
you're married or you have siblings or coworkers, you understand that that's human nature. It's not about you. It's about the people. And how do we make this better? There are so many different ways to do this, and depending on if I'm lucky to get this position, I would be on a committee or two that would, the main focus is how will I make your life better?
Right.
That is exactly what it was, whether it's housing or whether it's food, whether it's, salaries or whatever. So it really does depend a lot of, just about everything happens in committee.
Yeah, it does.
So, so it would just depend on the committee. But bottom line, how do I make your life better?
Now, tell us a little bit, because we started with the campaign, but tell us a little about you, about your background.
Well, I was born and raised here. I went to East High, went to Corning Community College, had an associate degree in math and science, went to University of Buffalo, have a bachelor's in psychology, and after that, I was accepted to 2 dental schools.
Okay.
And that my parents really wanted me to be how
Yeah,
that works. And for me personally, I didn't yet know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew all education is good.
Yeah.
Education is not going to hurt you. So I thought, well, I'll do this until I figure out what I want to do. And in the meantime, I just thought, I can do this academically. I just don't want to do it. I think that if you're in especially healthcare, you have to have a passion, and it wasn't my passion.
Yeah.
So I gave up my position, which was not, it was not popular
How'd that go?
with Dad. No, that was a bad decision.
Awkward Thanksgiving?
Very awkward. But he understood. And so I was an actress for a long time, which,
Yeah, that is a lot different.
face palming Dad, poor Dad. And, but I was really happy. And I then went back to school and got my master's in creative writing.
Okay.
For 10 years, I lived in Manhattan working at a $4 billion hedge fund,
Oof.
so I'm very familiar with the finance sector.
Sure.
And I was the president of an organization that helped women who are fleeing domestic violence get on their feet.
Okay.
So my dad and my grandfather specifically were very much into community service. And they taught my sister and me, this is what you got to do. You know, you see something, do something. and be useful.
So this kind of answered my next question of why run, right? but I mean, not just from that level, getting involved and active, but it is a lot of responsibility. It is a lot of work, as you talked about knocking on doors and the petition process. So what was it that kind of pushed you over the edge to say, you know what, I'm gonna dive in the deep end and do this?
You know, what really got me was the divisiveness, I think. We're neighbors. And again, let Washington worry about Washington. But here at this level, we all want the same thing. We want safe streets. We want schools. We want our kids to be safe. We want, all the same things. And I was seeing people across the board, both sides, that looked upon the other as the enemy.
Sure.
You get nowhere doing that.
Right,
you spin your wheels. And I was asked to consider doing this, and I thought, I know that I could make a difference. And so that's why I jumped in.
Have there been, because it was new to you, campaigning and the whole process, has there been surprises?
Well,
Shocking? Something that shocked you? I don't know.
Well, yeah. As a matter of fact, going door to door and just listening to people, I just get this overwhelming feeling that people are struggling out there. I think we talked about the many instances where I have talked to people whose kids are college degree, they have college degrees and they can't find a job, and so they're living back home. Or elderly family members who can't afford to live by themselves, so they're back with their kids. And some instances, you've got 3 generations living under the same roof just to make ends meet. And we're the richest country in the world. It doesn't have to be this way. So there's got to be a solution.
When you're talking to voters, because they're telling you that those stories, what are they saying to you specifically? Maybe it's a policy issue, but maybe it's just about what they think their legislature does. What are voters saying?
Well, I don't know if they know what we do.
Yeah,
That's
quite
fair. Honestly,
that's
I don't
100%
think that they
fair.
do. I think that's kind of this nebulous thing where we put you in this office. Help us,
right?
And they just don't know.
That's a fair point.
And I think a lot of times it comes down to cost of living, and they really don't care. They just want to help me. I'm suffering and I need help, and that could be in any number of ways, whether it's housing, whether it's cost of living, whether it's food insecurity, insurance. They don't know. I know that Hochul is pushing Congress to get back to work and to pass the insurance, the ACA tax subsidies. Because come November 1st, people are going to be shocked at their premiums going up, and now with food, with SNAP. And WIC on the chopping block, and there's funding. There's emergency funding. I think it's $6 billion. Again, that's on the national level, but that does trickle down here. I mean, there are people that need food assistance, and I just think there's just too many people playing politics and not thinking about their constituents.
So what's it look like? Obviously, you've been putting in a lot of work in this campaign, and here it's winding down, just a few days left. Early voting, technically voting is going on now, right? So early voting is going on now. People can vote on November 4th. What's your campaign look like from here until November 4th?
Just reaching out. I sent 3,000 postcards out to just about every household, Republican, Independent, Democrat.
Okay.
Because it doesn't matter. Because
the general election is the general election,
and I would work for everyone, right? So that doesn't matter. I'm still knocking on doors, and then I'm going to be making phone calls. Yeah. So
it's going to be a busy couple of days?
It will be, yeah.
So if people haven't had the opportunity to talk with you yet, or maybe they've just seen your postcard or whatever, how can they find out more about you? How can they help your campaign? I know it's last minute, but how can they help?
They can help. They actually can, vote.
Yes, sure.
That's big. They can reach out to me at debbieshannonforIrwin.com. You'll see a contact page. It's debbieshannonforIrwin@gmail. Okay. I've actually had a lot of people say, I got your postcard, and I want to ask you this question, blah, blah, blah.
That's great.
One of the questions, interestingly, was, what do you do for a living? I don't know what you do. And just to let you know, I I work for myself. I'm a writer. I have 4 books published.
We
and
had you
I'm
before over it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Before you got into politics. Did you know? Fast forward. Here we be today.
Exactly. And I'm halfway through writing my 5th book.
Great.
A thriller.
Yeah.
And because I'm not beholden to a boss, I can work 100%. I can dedicate 100% of my time to working for the people.
That's great. Yeah. And isn't that nice when you hear from people? Because sometimes you want to hear from people, right?
I do. I'm really excited.
I know. So it's kind of nice. You know, some people don't, you know, they feel embarrassed or something to ask questions. I know that, speaking from just personal experience, I want to talk about the issues of the day.
Yeah.
Right?
Or I want to have people feel comfortable.
Of course.
That, you know, I am approachable and I will absolutely answer every single email and honestly. And I am excited when I get the emails.
Well, and you mentioned you would tell people to go out and vote. This has been a topic we've had with everybody. How are you going to get people to go out and vote in a local year like this? I do think there's some passion out there, but it's still local. I don't know, you know, it's still a local race. And in your instance, we have what? So voting for legislature, Supreme Court, and town council, I think, is what's on the ballot. And I might be forgetting something, but that's corner, I think, is on there too. So
Right.
a lot of people struggle to get out to vote for the president, for heaven's sake. So how do you convince people to get out and vote?
That's nothing new.
Yeah,
I know,
sadly.
Well, I'm going to be making phone calls.
Yeah.
All day long. from very, well, not so early in the morning. I don't want to.
Don't want to have someone switch
I don't
their vote.
That fly at the picnic. Right?
Right.
But I'm just going to be reminding them, and
there's nothing else you can do. You got to, up until the last minute. If you did everything, that's all you can do, right?
That's it.
That's all.
I think it will come down to voter turnout.
Yep, 100%. And what that turnout will look like, we don't know.
I
Time
know.
will tell. There's no polling out at this level.
Exactly.
All right, before we go, the big question, what do you say to voters before they either early vote or head to the booth on November 4th?
I just want to let them know I hear you. I know that you're struggling. So many people out there are struggling. And something's got to give. And there has to be a change. And I am a common sense candidate that will look for solutions to help you. I will work very hard to make your life better. I will attend every legislative meeting, and most important, I will listen to you and your concerns. Please vote for me, Debbie Shannon, for County Legislature on November 4th, next Tuesday, for a change, for a new way forward. Thank you.
Well, Debbie, thank you so much for being on the program again. Best of luck on November 4th, and maybe we'll talk again soon.
Thanks so much, Frank.
All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us. A Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's go through some viewer comments. Just was contemplating the plethora of unusual last names that I had never heard of before that now seem to be all over the place. And the name Lee popped up, though it is not an uncommon name. Anyway, Lee, wasn't that the name of the Chinese woman who was a spy in the New York State government? Alleged. I'm sorry, I got to say that. My question is, has she been indicted yet for treason, deported, etc.? Any news? There's not a lot of news. We reported on it probably a month ago now. They did not throw out, they wanted to dismiss the corruption charges against her because there's also an issue there with PPE. You remember that during COVID? An $8 million PPE scheme. That was not dismissed. Also, she faced fresh corruption charges. That wasn't the last time we gave you an update. But she is accused of steering contracts to Chinese companies, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all in the legal process right now. It has not in any way, shape, or form been dropped. So I want to make that clear. But there are no real arrests. There are no real updates. The last was just from 3 weeks ago. It says here that the corruption charges were not dismissed. But yes, that was an aid. If you're not familiar, that was an aid to Governor Hochul, a very important aide, as a matter of fact, very high ranking, and also to former Governor Cuomo, and being charged with essentially
being a foreign agent and not declaring it. Okay, but thank you for that. Comment from a different viewer. Yes, we brought this story to the viewers earlier in the week, but I appreciate your comment. A viewer writes in, this is how Democrats made it through 24-hour speeches all the time. And that is the breaking news that happened earlier in the week that the Massachusetts governor, Maura Healey's top aide, was busted trafficking cocaine into the state office building. So thank you for that. Yes, we did mention that earlier in the week. Comment from a different viewer. Frank, I too was thrilled to see the crowds at the Turning Point event. I think so many young conservatives have been silenced in schools and intimidated, and I think they found strength and hope, and those gifts are priceless. I totally agree. I was also very impressed by JD, and he didn't cave to a sensitive question. He told it like it was, the truth. Yes, I agree. It's so encouraging to see the growth of Turning Point USA, even before, I think it should be noted, that even before the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But this growth, really the young conservatives helped put Trump over the line. It is no longer, like I've always said, it's more rock and roll. It's cooler to be conservative in today's climate. Now the media and academia will tell you differently. But these young people are starting to find a voice for themselves, and that's the truth. Thank you. Comment from Mark. He says the Democrats claim that the shutdown is harming people. True. But the real reason they are fighting for Obamacare is for their pharmaceutical kickbacks. They will lose money if Obamacare runs out. Thank you, Mark. And finally, a comment from a viewer. Fridays without Climate Fact Friday Bob will take some getting used to. But it's nice to know that he'll still be out there in the world and not afraid to leave his carbon footprint. How beautiful, how poetic. Thank you for that. All right, Fox News poll, Mamdani's lead, Mamdani's, I'm trying to say it better, his lead, because I got to get used to it for the next 4 years as he's mayor. No, it's not over. Mamdani's lead narrows in New York City's mayoral race. Mamdani has a 16-point lead, according to Fox News. 47% back him, while 15% favor Curtis Sliwa, and 31% go for Andrew Cuomo. Now, according to the Daily Mail out of the United Kingdom and a new poll, New Yorkers predict the city will become a cesspool of violence, vacant stores, and anti-Semitism under Mamdani in a disturbing new poll. But they're still probably going to give him a landslide victory anyway, according to the Daily Mail out of the UK. Many residents of the Big Apple believe their home is about to spiral into a dystopian nightmare of crime and violence, boarded up storefronts, and anti-Semitic hate if Zohran Mamdani becomes mayor. He has a 15-point lead over his nearest rival. The polls show that many New Yorkers who do not support Mamdani are convinced that he is going to destroy America's biggest metropolis and crater its economy, sending shockwaves across the rest of the country. They think it would mark a return to the urban decay of the 80s when the city was blighted by poverty, rampant crime, crumbling infrastructure, and abandoned buildings. Even among Mamdani's own supporters, more think he will make anti-Semitism in New York worse rather than better. Asked for one word to describe what the Big Apple would be like after 4 years of his left-wing policies, the most common response from non-Mamdani voters was disaster. Well, when we come back, because I just heard the Corning whistle. When we come back, younger voters are starting to hit the polls in the New York City mayor's race too. So that's probably in Mamdani's favor. When we come back, I'm going to tell you what Nick Langworthy, our congressman, I combine Congressman and Nick, Congressman Nick Langworthy had to say about the mayoral race, and then a few other comments. So get your comments in. The program is almost wrapping up. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A couple of viewer comments. New York City could use a good dose of Turning Point USA, that's for sure. Comment from a different viewer. The good news is, if Mamdani wins, all our liberal friends will no doubt be moving to New York City to live in utopia. Good point. Thank you very much. All right. Congressman Nick Langworthy, and if you're not aware, he was the former New York State Republican chair. So it went Ed Cox, Nick Langworthy. Langworthy wins the congressional race, and then it goes back to Ed Cox. So that's kind of the in recent memory, the order. So Nick Langworthy, close ally, there's no doubt of that, close ally to Donald Trump. Donald Trump recently endorsing him. Nick Langworthy endorsed Andrew Cuomo instead of Curtis Sliwa. This is interesting. I know I've saved this and hinted towards it all morning. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Langworthy told Fox News, "This is about saving the city from communism. I've had plenty of disagreements very publicly over the years and fought tooth and nail with Governor Cuomo. But there's no doubt in my mind he would be a far superior mayor than a communist." He said Cuomo was polling better than Sliwa, with a few surveys showing him 10 points behind Mamdani, the Democrat nominee and frontrunner in the race. Quote, and this again, Congressman Nick Langworthy, quote, "There's only one candidate running against Mamdani that has a credible path to win, and there's Andrew Cuomo. And he knows how to run a government. He's certainly a better option than the alternative of Mamdani and the Democrat Socialists of America running the city with no checks and balances." Langworthy was the state Republican Party chairman before getting elected to Congress in 2022. Langworthy said he believes what happens in the Big Apple impacts the rest of the state. Now, Republican Hudson Valley Representative Mike Lawler, who at one time was thought may run for governor, but who declined, whose district is just north of New York City, also plugged Cuomo over Sliwa as preferable. Representative Nicole Malatakis, the only Republican who represents parts of New York City, told the Post Thursday she's behind Sliwa. So there you are. Interesting. I found that just very interesting. I nothing else other than worth commenting, getting your opinion on it. And since we're running late, we're going to talk more about Mamdani, but I wanted to mention this before we run out of time. Two things about the governor's race, then back to the mayoral race. Governor Hochul yesterday declared a food emergency across the state as the federal government says SNAP benefits will run dry this weekend. "We're not going to be passive observers to this," said Hochul. The governor announced she would pump an additional $65 million into New York's emergency food relief funds to keep benefits flowing after the freeze expected to begin Saturday. That's on top. So the, again, $65 million is on top of the $30 million she announced earlier in the week. Hochul said New York receives and distributes around $650 million per month for SNAP from the feds. Now, everybody's been wondering, will Elise Stefanik declare she's running for governor after Tuesday? Well, according to Axios, far-left organization, but Axios believes they have the scoop. New York Representative Elise Stefanik has built out an extensive political team as she prepares to launch a 2026 campaign for governor, and she's planning on announcing it in November. Stefanik has told associates she plans on entering the governor's race as soon as the New York City mayoral election on Tuesday. She has more, get this, she has more than $13 million in cash on hand, more than any other New York House Republican in recent history, and is hiring a slate of veteran political operatives as she seeks to be New York's first GOP governor since none other than George Pataki. Now, these names may not mean a lot to you, but we want to keep a close eye on her campaign. She hired Alex DeGrassi, Stefanik's longtime top political lieutenant. He will be the campaign's chief strategist and CFO. Patrick Hester, who's Stefanik's chief of staff, also will be involved. Stefan Mikalajwal, who worked on Vivek Ramaswamy's presidential campaign last year, will be director of rapid response. Stefanik also tapped several top Trump advisors. Tony Fabrizio, who is chief strategist on Trump's 2024 campaign, will be her pollster. Chris Grant, who ran the main pro-Trump 2024 super PAC, will be an advisor. Tim Saller, another Trump 2024 campaign official, will oversee Stefanik's voter micro-targeting efforts. Stefanik's team thinks she has a shot of winning in mostly Democrat New York, partly because the state shifted further rightward than any other state in the 2024 election. Trump got more than 3.5 million votes in New York, more than any GOP presidential candidate since Ronald Reagan in 1988. Trump received 800,000 more votes than Republican Lee Zeldin got in 2022 when Zeldin lost his governor's race to Hochul. Stefanik's campaign will put a premium on voters who back Trump, but not Zeldin, a person familiar with the campaign said. The team is also betting that her focus on combating anti-Semitism will help her in a state with the nation's highest concentration of Jewish residents, more than 8% of the population. Jewish voters have historically backed Democrats, but polls last year suggest Trump made significant gains with them. And of course, she had that national attention from those hearings with the college professors, and she has a new book out in regards to that. New York voters will turn on Democrats after Zohran Mamdani is elected the mayor next week, is her thought on this, according to, again, Axios, so take it with a grain of salt. So there you go. That's where we're at. On the other side, Kathy Hochul's spokesperson said Elise Stefanik has spent her career in D.C. selling out New Yorkers to Donald Trump, and that is why she's going to lose to Kathy Hochul. Whether it's her votes to help Trump get Medicaid, gut Medicaid, or raise costs, Stefanik and her record could not be more toxic with New York voters. Bring it on. There you go. Your thoughts on all that. I know I threw a lot of heavy stuff on you, right, to get ready to wrap up today's edition. Stay with us. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's wrap up today's edition with some viewer comments. I like Langworthy, this viewer says, but I like him a little less for endorsing Cuomo and not Sliwa. Is he trying to be the leftist press darling? I don't think he's trying to be that at all. I think he's looking at it as he really does not want, and I understand it, Mamdani and the implications that will have on not just New York City, but also in his district, our district, 23rd, and in the state in general. So I think it's being more pragmatic. I understand, though. I understand why you would want him to endorse Sliwa. So don't get me wrong on that. I'm just giving you what my perspective of perhaps the thinking behind it is. Coming from a different viewer, I'm a supporter of Nick Langworthy. However, to endorse Cuomo is really disheartening to me. As I've said numerous times, there's no way that man, Cuomo, should serve in office ever again. Not ever. Thank you very much. And with a very upset emoji. I appreciate that. Thank you. And Ilhan Omar has called out Senator Schumer for not endorsing Mamdani in the mayoral race and mocked the anti-Semitism concerns. Now, this is on CNN. She said, asked about why Schumer hasn't endorsed Mamdani. She said, I really don't know. It makes no sense. We as Democrats have always believed that in an election, we support our party's nominee. Schumer has pressured other Democrats to do just that, and he should be following his own advice. Well, why doesn't he follow his own advice about government shutdowns and being against government shutdowns now? Schumer changes any way the wind suits him. And asked about if religion plays a role, Omar replied, well, the tsunami of the anti-Muslim attacks that we're seeing is deeply concerning. And I would hope that the Democrat leader in the Senate would recognize that and would offer support not just to Mamdani, but the millions of Muslims who live in New York City and the millions who live in New York and in America. All right. Upset? Well, that does it for us on this morning's edition of Frankly Speaking. I know there's going to be other things I forgot to mention because we had so much to get to, but we got to let it go. Thank you to our guest, Chris Malpass, for being in the 6 o'clock hour. Thank you to Debbie Shannon, who was on in the 7 o'clock hour. If you missed any of our candidate interviews, they will be up on our YouTube page or on WYDCTV.com, so you're the most informed before you head into the voting booth, whether that's early voting, which is going on now, or whether you wait until Tuesday for general election day. Last couple comments. I see little difference between Cuomo and Mamdani. He made it clear he thinks about conservatives and asks us to leave the state for one. Yes, Cuomo did do that. He asked us to leave the state. Trump received the crown from South Korea. The world loves Trump. Thank you very much. Yeah, we brought that up earlier in the week. That does it for me. Have a fun, safe Halloween. Feel free to send in the costumes. I'd love to see them to the number on the bottom of the screen. And then have a fun, safe weekend. And don't forget to change your clocks. And we'll be back Monday morning starting at 6 a.m. But make sure you change your clocks so you don't miss even a moment of Frankly Speaking on Monday. I look forward to it already. Have fun.